For almost 3 years I lived with Ryan Mitchell, believing that marriage was just around the corner. From the beginning he made promises of a beautiful wedding. He would say, "Sarah, just a little longer. Once we've saved enough, I'll give you the celebration you deserve." He described grand halls, chandeliers, a designer dress, and perfect photos for our future children to look at. I used to smile and tell him I didn't need all that. I just wanted something simple, a day just for us with close friends and family. But Ryan would pull me close, look me in the eyes and say, "No, you deserve the best." I believed him. I believed in us. My mother never did. She lived across the country with her new husband but always found time to call or text me warnings. "Sarah, take off those rose-colored glasses. If he really loved you, you'd be married by now. Don't waste your life on a man who's only comfortable because you're doing all the giving." My brother Christopher didn't say much, but his wife Laura didn't hold back. "Sarah, it hurts to see you settling. The way Ryan talks to you or doesn't talk to you, it's not right. I only met him once, but I could tell he's not who you think he is. And his family clearly doesn't want you around." I always defended Ryan. I told Laura his family was just quiet and didn't mean any harm. Maybe they didn't know how to welcome someone like me. But deep down I remembered every cold look, every smirk. I couldn't forget the first and only time I visited Ryan's mother and sister. It was Mother's Day. He said it would mean a lot if I came. I wanted to make a good impression, but from the moment I walked in I felt judged. His mother's smile didn't reach her eyes. His sister, Emily, didn't waste time. "So you're a nail tech, right?" she said loudly to their grandmother. "Ryan's girlfriend paints nails all day. Maybe she'll give us a free manicure." They laughed like it was the funniest thing ever. I never felt ashamed of my job. I loved helping women feel beautiful. But sitting at that table hearing them mock me, I wanted to disappear. Ryan left to take a call and left me alone with them. By the time we left I was drained. On the drive home he held my hand and told me not to take it personally. I wanted to believe him, so I did. I told myself his family didn't matter. What mattered was us. So I stayed quiet. I stayed patient. I kept believing in a future that never came. As time went on, Ryan changed. First it was small things. He stopped picking me up from work, saying he was stuck at the office. I wanted to believe he was working hard for us. But the excuses kept coming and his absence became normal. Even when he was home he was distant. He didn't greet me the way he used to. He would go straight to the shower, then sit in front of the TV or his game console, ignoring me. I tried to stay hopeful. Everyone has hard times, right? But the emptiness in our home grew. I cooked meals he barely noticed, cleaned the messes he left behind, folded laundry. I felt less like his partner and more like a maid. The man who promised me everything now left me to carry it all alone. Then one evening everything changed. I went outside to take out the trash and heard a strange rustling from one of the bags. I thought it was a rat. But when I looked closer I found a tiny, shaking puppy just a few weeks old. Someone had left him there to die. I picked him up without thinking. He smelled bad and his fur was a mess, but I saw something beautiful in him. I bathed him in the sink, wrapped him in a towel and named him Frodo, like the Hobbit. Small, tough but brave. When Ryan came home he was angry. "Get rid of it. I don't want a flea-ridden mutt in the apartment." I told him how I found Frodo, how he had been left to die. "Please just give him a chance," I begged. He shook his head. "This isn't a farm, Sarah. You should have left him where you found him." His words cut deep. But I stood my ground. "No. He stays." It was one of the only times I didn't give in to Ryan. Frodo stayed. He slept at the foot of my bed, followed me around and gave me the love Ryan no longer did. He greeted me with joy, tail wagging, eyes full of trust. In a lonely, cold home, Frodo became my comfort. He reminded me that love and loyalty still existed, just not in Ryan. Then on a gray afternoon, it all came crashing down. I was folding laundry when there was a sharp knock at the door. Frodo barked once. I opened the door and there stood Emily, Ryan's sister, holding a set of keys. I was shocked to see her, even more shocked that she had keys to our place. Without waiting for me to say anything, she stepped inside and looked around like she owned the place. "I'm not here for small talk," she said. "Pack your things. Ryan's moving on. You're done here." First I thought I misheard. "Excuse me," I whispered. Emily smirked. "He's getting married. To someone who actually matters. Someone who's going to help him get ahead in life. You were fun, Sarah, but you were never part of the long-term plan." Her words cut through me like glass. My throat tightened as I tried to understand what she was saying. That can't be true, I said, my voice shaking. Ryan wouldn't. But I couldn't feel the certainty I needed. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone and dialed his number. Emily stood watching, arms crossed, looking smug. Ryan picked up on the second ring. For a moment I couldn't say anything. My chest felt tight. Finally I asked, Ryan, please tell me this isn't true. Tell me you're not engaged to someone else. There was a long pause. And in that silence my heart already knew. Then he said, calm and bored, it's true, Sarah. I should have told you sooner. I met someone better suited for me. Someone who can help me in ways you can't. It's time for you to move on. I gripped the phone so tight my knuckles hurt. 3 years, I whispered. 3 years, and this is how you end it? He sighed like I was a problem he didn't want to deal with. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Just leave the apartment. Emily will handle things. Then he hung up. The silence after that was crushing. Emily's smirk grew wider like she'd won. You heard him, she said as she turned toward the door. Be gone before the weekend. He's got a real future now. I stood frozen, phone still in hand. Frodo pressed against my leg, whining. He could feel my pain. My knees gave out and I sank onto the couch, the truth washing over me in waves. The man I had built my life around, the man I defended, had thrown me away like I was nothing. I moved through the apartment like a ghost, pulling clothes from drawers, packing what little I needed. I took only the essentials, a few keepsakes and Frodo's leash. Everything else felt like it didn't belong to me anymore. When I stepped into the cold night, Frodo beside me, I looked back one last time. The lights were on inside, but to me the place was dead. A graveyard of broken promises. I walked away with just a few bags and my dog, carrying the weight of heartbreak, humiliation, and the sudden loss of everything I thought I had. I didn't know where to go. The night air was sharp and every step felt heavy. I clutched Frodo's leash in my bag, thinking about sleeping in my car. But the thought of sitting alone in the dark, grieving, broke me. So I drove to the only place I could think of. My brother Christopher's house. He lived just outside of town with his wife Laura and their 2 kids. I knew showing up unannounced so late wasn't fair, but I had no other option. My hands were trembling as I knocked. A light flicked on. Soon Christopher opened the door, his face shifting from confusion to concern when he saw me. Sarah, what happened? He asked, pulling me inside. I couldn't speak. The words wouldn't come. Laura appeared, wrapping a robe around herself. When she saw me, she didn't ask anything. She just took the bag from my hand, set it aside, and pulled me into a hug. Minutes later, I was sitting at their kitchen table with a warm cup of tea, while Frodo curled up near the heater. Their home felt safe, like a blanket wrapped around me. I told them everything. Ryan's betrayal. Emily's cruelty. How everything fell apart in an instant. Christopher listened with clenched jaws. I never trusted him, he said quietly. Not once. Laura rested her hand on mine. You're safe now. That's what matters. We'll figure the rest out tomorrow. I nodded, even though shame burned inside me. I hated needing help. I hated showing up broken with no plan, no home. But they didn't judge. They just gave me warmth. That night I slept on their couch. Frodo lay at my feet. For the first time in days I felt a bit of peace. The next morning the kids ran around the kitchen laughing, eating cereal. Laura sat with me again. I've been thinking, she said gently. You can't stay here forever, not with the kids in the space. But my aunt left behind a small house not far from here. It's old and needs work, but it's empty. You could stay there. Just until you're back on your feet. I blinked. Are you sure? She smiled. Of course. It's not much, but it's yours if you want it. You need a fresh start, Sarah. This could be it. Tears filled my eyes. But this time they weren't from pain. They were from gratitude. I had lost everything in one night. But now maybe I had a chance to rebuild. Moving into the old house was both scary and freeing. The floors creaked. The paint was chipped. But it was mine, or at least mine to care for. Every morning I woke early, bundled up, and drove nearly an hour to work. The commute was hard, especially after long shifts, but I reminded myself, this was the cost of independence. The house had no fancy comforts. But it gave me peace. Frodo loved every corner of it. He ran through the overgrown yard like it was his kingdom. Watching him chase leaves or curl up by the fire reminded me that joy didn't have to be big. could live in small moments. On weekends, I visited Christopher and Laura. Their kids adored Froto, laughing and playing in the yard. Froto was patient, happy, and full of love. Being around their family reminded me what real love looked like: steady, kind, and without conditions. Little by little, I began to heal. And for the first time since Ryan broke me, I started to believe I could build a new life. A simpler one. But mine. And that was enough.